My name is Ushma and welcome to my YouTube channel. This is my first video, so I'm a little nervous. We'll see how it goes. I have been sewing for a little over a year, and I am mostly sewing for myself and my almost 3-year-old son. And occasionally for my husband. So I wanted to start this channel to document my sewing journey, kind of like a journal. I will be sharing the projects I'm working on, what I learn along the way, mistakes that I make. So yeah, I'm excited and thank you for being here, and we'll see how this goes. So for my first project on this channel, I thought I would work on this idea that I've had in my mind for a few months now, and it involves these fabrics. So a few months ago, I purchased this. Oh, that's my dog. He wants to come in. Hang on. Okay. Hi, Chandler. Come here. Come here. Come here. Say hi. This is Chandler. Okay, sit down. I've lost my fabric. I was saying, hang on, Chandler. Okay, I've completely lost my train of thought, but I think I was gonna talk about this fabric. So I got this fabric a few months ago from Joann, and it's got this eyelet, I don't know what it's called, embroidery anglaise fabric. It's got this patchwork kind of squares that are joined together, and each square is a little bit of a different design. So I initially really loved this fabric. I'm not sure how much of it I got, maybe 2.5 yards. I must have wanted to make a dress, but because of this patchwork square design, when I got it home, I didn't know what to do with it because of such a geometric shape, and the squares are pretty large, and I'm only 5'2", so I just didn't know how to make this work. So it sat in my stash for months and months until I saw this dress from Sezane. And I'll put a picture here. I don't know, I need to figure out how all those things work. Pretty cute dress. It's got this pin tuck details that alternate with like a strip of, looks like eyelet fabric, and it's got button down the middle. So I thought if I cut this fabric in strips, which should be easy because these are all already sewn on, and then add the pin tuck details, it'll be a good way to break up a lot of these squares, and have something that will be interesting, cute. So it looks like a pretty easy design. We'll see. I'm just planning to wing it pretty much. And so for the pin tuck, I got this fabric, I got this cotton voile fabric from Etsy. I can put the details of the shop in the description below. It's shipped from India, and it's a pretty lightweight fabric. I've just washed it, so it needs a good iron. But yeah, I think this will be easy to press and make the pin tuck detail. When I bought this fabric, I also got this white lining fabric, and the reason I'm not using this one for the pin tuck is because it's pretty slippery fabric. I feel like it'll be too fiddly to work the pin tuck details, and it needs to be in a straight line, and I feel like this fabric would move too much. So I think I'm still going to need a lining, just because some of these eyelets are pretty open compared to some that are, I don't know if you can see. So this one's not quite that open, but this one's got pretty big holes in it. So yeah, I will still use this for lining. I'm going to cut out strips of this fabric, and I'm going to press this fabric and draw out straight lines for pin tucks. So I just need to measure how big of the pin tucks that I want. I think they're all going to be equal size, so once I figure out one, the rest are going to be easy. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. I decided to make a paper version of the pin tucks. The squares are about 4.5 inches in size. So I started with a 1/4 inch pin tucks, and I decided to go with 5 pin tucks for each section. So these are a different white. The description said pure white. That's clearly not pure white. So I might get another trim that's white and maybe smaller scallops. We'll see. But so that's what it's going to look like. I don't know. And then I made a 1/2 inch pin tuck because I thought that was too small, but now that I'm looking at it with the lace, 1/4 inch might be okay. Yeah, I think that's too big, unless I went 3/8 of an inch. So I actually made another 3/8 of an inch pin tuck mock-up thing. I think that's too small. That's too big. So I think that's a good size. So we'll have this layer followed by a lace, and then this panel right here, and then do we want to do lace? So where's the, okay, right here. Do we want to do lace? I don't know, I haven't decided that yet, but we'll think about that one later. Just trying to finalize the pin tuck right now. Actually, I don't think I want to put the lace after, because that will cover some of the pin tucks. So yeah, let's not, yeah, we'll just do lace after. So pin tuck, lace, eyelet panel, pin tuck, lace, eyelet. Yeah, I think we're gonna go with that. So I've just finished making a little swatch. There's the pin tuck, the lace detail, and then the panel, and then the repeat. I think I'm liking how it's looking. I like the size of the pin tucks. The only problem right now is this top one is kind of sticking up a little bit, so I'm not sure what's going on with that. I've tried pressing it, but it just wants to do that, so I might have to just do a top stitch. I think we're good to go. And now I think we're ready to go with the actual fabric. So I'm gonna find the largest ruler that I have and start marking. So I've just made my first straight line across the width of the fabric, and instead of trying to draw straight lines and driving myself crazy, I have decided to just follow my machine's ruler. So I'm just going to mark just a starting point 3/8 of an inch from this line, like that, and then I'm just going to fold it like this, and then just use this first line as a guide, and then for the next one I'm going to mark another starting point and then fold it and use this first one as a guide. So hopefully that will work. It's the next day, and last night I finished all the pin tuck pieces. I've got all 4 of them here. But that took a long time, especially the first one. I think it took me like almost an hour and a half. But once I figured that out, the rest went a little bit faster. So now that that's done, next step is to, I don't know where I've put my, oh, right here. So the next step is to cut out the strips. I think I'm gonna need 5 strips, and then we'll start to put it together. So as far as the dress, I don't really have a pattern that I'm following. I'm just going to take a measurement of my hip and then times that by 1.5 and create a rectangle of that width. And of course the length is going to be 4 of these pieces and then 5 of this square pieces. I'm not exactly sure how long that will be. I'll put all my measurements in here. I'm just going to gather it up here and then put buttons down the middle. I don't think I want to do a placket. I think I'm just going to use this lining to finish the edge neatly and then just put buttonholes there, but I'll show you what I mean because I don't know if I was very clear. A small hiccup. So I wanted the width of my rectangle to be 1.5 times my hip so that I could gather it at the top here. But the width of this fabric was about 43 inches. And so I decided to add 3 more of the squares, which actually turns out to be about 56 inches total, but I didn't want to cut the last square in half, so for it to be 54 inches, so I just kept the whole thing. But now now that I've added those 3 squares, this pin tuck strip is about 12 inches too short. So yeah, so not the end of the world, but I'm gonna make 2 more of the pin tuck strips, which I'm doing that right now actually. I'm gonna cut those in half and then attach to the 4 of these panels. I just have to make sure that the seam is on the side here because I don't want it to be like right in somewhere in the front or in the back where it's visible. And I also want the seam to align with one of this seams over here. I don't know how that's going to look like, but I'm just gonna make 2 more panels and then see what we can do. Hey guys, so it has been a few days since I started this project and I haven't made much progress. Not because I haven't wanted to, it's just things have happened. You know, I'm not working off of a pattern, so it's taken me a while to troubleshoot some of the things that have come up, and yeah, it's just taking a while. So let me walk you through what's been going on. First of all, the lace trim. So the one that I originally had was was a different shade of white. So I finally got the right shade of white that I wanted, but when I put it on top of this fabric, I think it just blends too much and it doesn't show up as much. And I also think that the scalloped edges are a bit too wide. It could still work on the body, but I want the lace trim to be on either side of the straps, and I feel like having a strap and then this on either side, I think that's just too wide. So I ordered another lace. It's a bit more dainty looking, you know, it's kind of similar in that it has that embroidered look, but I think it's the right scale to go on either side of the straps and then, you know, on top here. So that took a few days to arrive, and I did try it on this strap piece. I think I like that a lot better than I would have liked this one. So the only problem with this trim is that, you know, the edge is pretty thin. So I'm having to be very precise in where I sew because I don't want to take away from this part, so I have to make sure that I sew right on this edge here. So I think that's gonna take a while. And also, this was 10 yards of lace. I don't think that's enough. So I did order more of this, but you know, I have enough here that I can get going while the rest arrives. So that was the lace. What was the other thing? Oh yeah, so initially I wasn't planning to put a button placket on. I was just hoping that I could get away with, you know, having a lining and then just finishing the edge like so, and just that be the edge of the dress here. But I was in the shower the other day and thinking, as we do in shower, I realized that if I do that, because it's going to be, let me do this properly. If I just line the fabric and then just have this be the edge, then I would have to put buttonholes on this pintuck section, and I just don't think that would work. So yeah, we're gonna need a line or a placket. So the only problem with that is I only have this much fabric left. And I could use this fabric that I'm planning to use for lining, but it's just too slippery and I just don't want to deal with that. And because I've already used this wall fabric for the pintucks, I think it would look kind of weird having this other fabric as a placket. So in my panic, I did order more of the wall fabric, but it's not gonna be here for a few more days since it's coming from India. So what I've decided is I'm just going to use this fabric. I am going to have to cut the placket on cross grain, I think it's called, but I've seen plackets that are cut on bias, so I think it'll be okay. I am going to interface the placket, so I think it'll be okay. The reason why I don't want to wait a few more days is because if I can, I do want to wear this dress for our family photo shoot this weekend, if possible. But we'll see. At this point, I think I have everything I need to get going. I do have the day off today, so I get to sew almost all day. We do have friends coming over for dinner later, so I'm gonna have to go prep for that. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish the other strap and then attach it to the top piece and then do the first gathered section and see how I like that. So I just got the straps done and look how cute. Okay, gotta keep going. Okay, so I've just finished attaching the gathered piece to the top here, and I want to see how it did with the lace trim in between because I couldn't really see where I was sewing. I just want to make sure that it didn't catch too much into the lace, but I'm noticing that I was actually pretty good. There's some spots where it's a bit lower than I would like. Ideally, I would like this piece attached like right at the edge here, but that's okay. Like you see, like that's kind of what I want. Not bad. At least none of the lace has caught. I think what I'm going to do is I'll take the gathering thread out. This is why I like to use a different colored thread, so I can easily see when I'm taking the thread out. And then I might go one more time from this side. See, that's what I would like, but obviously that's a little, pushing it a little too close. So I might go from this side and try to get it as close to the lace as possible. So I think as you saw, I decided not to go over the back and try to guess where the trim is and risk having it get caught, because the first time none of it had caught. So I just decided to go over and top stitch, and there were just a few areas where the gap was just too much. I just tucked that underneath and just stitched right on the edge here, and I think it turned out pretty good. And that's what it looks like from the back, but we'll have lining here, so that should be fine. So I have just finished attaching the lace to all of these panels, and this is all that's left. So it turns out I did have enough, so I didn't need to order more, but I'm done with attaching the lace on all the pieces. So yeah, I think I'm going to take a little break now. So I kind of forgot about this pink panel being shorter than this panel. So yeah, I need to figure out where to attach and how much to attach, all that kind of stuff, but we'll do that after lunch. So see you later. It is looking so good. Yeah, I'm really happy with how it's coming along. I do need to take a break right now though. It's 2:30, so I need to run some errands and start making dinner. This is how far we've got. I don't know if I'll have time later this evening to work on this, but hopefully I'll have a little bit of time here and there this weekend because I am really excited at how this is coming together, and I do want to finish this soon. Hi, last night I got all the outside of the dress done, and this is how it's looking. Obviously it still needs the the lining and everything, but yeah, this is where we're at. So initially my plan was to have 5 panels of the eyelet panel and then 4 of the duck panels in between, but I think I like this length. I did pin the 5th panel to the bottom, and I felt like that kind of took it to, you know, night dress territory. Let me show you. Yeah, this is what I mean. This is with the added 5th panel. It looks nightgownish. I think I'm going to keep it short. We're almost done, and all I need to do now is to add the lining, the button placket, buttonholes, buttons, and then hem the bottom. Actually, that's quite a lot, but yeah, we'll get it done. I'm seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. So hopefully next time I see you, I will be able to show you the finished dress. Sad day. I have about this much left to hem, and I've run out of white thread. I was so close. Anyway, one more day. Hi guys, the dress is done. Here it is. And I am so happy with how it turned out. Exactly how I had pictured it in my head, so I'm very happy with it. I will post some clips of me wearing the dress so you can see how it looks. So I just wanted to come on here and talk a little bit about the process and share some of the things that I learned along the way, because I am still learning. So in terms of construction, it's basically a bunch of rectangle pieces of fabric sewn together and hung on these straps pretty much. There isn't much shaping, as you can see, other than this gathered piece around the bust. So it did take a lot of time and patience, as you can imagine, with the pleated details. So if you want to recreate this dress, just know that it does take some time and just be patient. For me personally, I don't mind doing jobs like that as much. I find them enjoyable. I guess that says a lot about me. I like doing meticulous things. It's almost meditative in a way. So I don't mind doing that. But let me tell you the amount of ironing this dress needed. That's one thing about sewing that I don't enjoy as much, is the ironing. And this dress, you know, every step of the way needed things to be pressed down. So I would sew the first of this pleat and then press it down, measure the second one, sew it and press it down, and so on. So it did require a lot of that. And I already talked to you about the lace that I chose. I think it looks nice, and it was a good choice to go with something a little smaller and detailed. But since the edge of the lace was so tiny, I kind of had to do very precise sewing, which I can tell you it's not precise throughout the dress. But I think that's okay. It's handmade. I don't think it's noticeable to anybody else other than myself. And I'm trying not to be too critical of what I've achieved. So it's okay. This is what the inside looks like. I wanted to make sure that it was finished neatly on the inside as well. I kept the lining a little bit shorter than the outer fabric. So yeah, that's what it looks like. I have to say, as I was attaching the pintuck piece and the broderie anglaise piece together, for some reason I forgot to or didn't even think about finishing the seam allowance. And I don't have a serger, so I just used the zigzag stitch on my machine. And I didn't think about it until I was almost done. So I did have to go back and finish or zigzag stitch all of these edges, which was a pain in the butt because, you know, I had already attached the lining and the placket, and I was pretty much done. I think only the hem was left. You know, top stitching, everything was done. So in some spots, the seam allowance was like not even there. So if I were to make this again, and if you are recreating it, please make sure to finish all the seams as you're attaching the pieces together. Don't do what I did. So the last thing I wanted to talk about is, normally I don't go for pure white or white in general outfits. I don't think white is my color. If I have to, I prefer off-whites or ivory. I'm naturally more drawn towards neutral tones, earthy tones, as you can see. But in this case, I think the lace and the pintucks and the broderie anglaise detail of the fabric itself adds enough texture that it draws your attention away from how white and bright this fabric is. I don't know how it translates on camera, but it is very white. So I think if I paired it with something neutral or earthy like brown shoes, I'm planning to pair this with brown boots this summer, this fall. I haven't tried it with a belt, but I think if I put on a belt to kind of cinch the waist in a little bit, that could work. So I will definitely be pairing this with something brown, I think. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed seeing the process of my new favorite dress coming together. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are. I would love to hear from you. And if you do end up making this dress for yourself, please tag me on my Instagram and please consider subscribing to my channel. Bye.